So I have mild racism. It's benign. It's not aggressive. It's not even negative racism. It's mild racism. I'll give you an example. If I say I'm in a hospital and the doctor comes in to treat me and the doctor's from China or India, I'll think, well, good. Good, more of that. Why not? It's very mild racism. Here's another example. If I'm in a gas station late at night and a young man comes in wearing a hooded sweatshirt, if he's white, I'll think, oh, he's an athlete. If he's black, unless he has a big smile on his face, then I become mildly racist, and this is what I think. I think, that's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing's gonna happen. No, of course I'm fine. Why did I even think that for a second?
All right, hello. Where do I... Okay, here's my thesis statement. All right. The most consequential form of racism is not public, but rather de facto racism. Alex, what does de facto mean? De facto. In fact or in effect, whether by right or not. Synonyms. Actual, real, or effective. So we're just gonna... Actual or real. So, the most consequential form of racism is not the public, outright, blatant racism that is shown throughout this country that everybody addresses as a problem. The problem, rather, is the de facto. In this case, de facto means the subconscious, the integrated stereotypes that we all accept. That's the issue. So, in a movie that came out very recently called Get Out, this kind of thing is addressed.
You know, I feel like the way we talk about race is broken right now. It's very difficult for Americans to have a positive and constructive conversation.
You know what I love about the film was the message you have, because like when they get there and the father like keeps saying like, oh, I would have voted for Obama for a third term. Like he's overly stating that he's trying not to be racist.
Yeah. You know, there's this party scene in the movie where Chris is there with Rose, his white girlfriend, and basically all the white people around him at this party are kind of trying to come and connect to him on some black thing.
Yeah,
it's an interesting phenomenon. It's very true. It's not a hateful thing. It's actually it's an olive branch. But I think what this movie sort of shows is being in the position of somebody who might feel like they're being seen for their color first before being connected as an individual. It's even though it's not a hateful thing, it's still a shade and a side of this big sort of mess that we call racism.
Well, I think, speaking for white people, I think for their experience of watching the movie is like, it's informative because a lot of people don't know that just by saying something that you wouldn't say unless you were talking to a black person, you are isolating them, or at least giving them some indication that you're identifying them as a black person and thinking of them differently.
I think it's miscommunication of intention, because I feel like
exactly.
what you're trying to do as a white individual is basically make someone feel welcome, but how it's received is that I feel isolated.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let me address something different. Ignorance is the root of all hate. How, Alex? So, not being educated on another culture, ethnicity, or race, aka ignorance, leads to adopting stereotypes, and it also leads to fear. Because when you don't know about something, you become scared of it. And when you become scared of it, you hate it. Now, Alex, why don't people just learn about these races? Because it's so much easier. Adopting the stereotypes is easy. So, when the easier option is there, they fail to learn about and understand. So this is one of the reasons that our current president is now in office, because he ran on a campaign based on getting rid of people who were different than us and blaming them for everything wrong in this country, which led to the Muslim ban.
The order banning any refugees from entering the country for 120 days. Now, keep in mind, there are currently more refugees around the world than at any time since World War II, and Trump just slammed the door.
So, what happened today?
Okay, we came here at 8 a.m.
My mom arrived at 7:24, and then when she was on her way here, Mr. Trump was like, sign the paper, and then all we want is our mom. That's all we want.
And the decision came, and they were about to send her back until the Congress and everybody came, and they came up with a decision that now the judge saying that they're staying here. They can't enter, they can't leave till further notice.
Have you talked to your mom today?
Once.
1 minute.
Once. She was terrified and crying, and I don't know if she's okay now because we haven't gotten in contact with her.
Okay, so the reason people signed off on this and voted for Donald Trump and were okay with things like the Muslim ban happening is because they think it's their country, which is handled terrifically here.
You just want that person to give you your country back because you feel that you're this country's rightful owners. There's only one problem with that. This country isn't yours. You don't own it. It never was. There is no real America. You don't own it. You don't own patriotism. You don't own Christianity. You sure as hell don't own respect for the bravery and sacrifice of military, police, and firefighters.
So, Alex, how do we fix this problem? Short answer, I don't really know, but I can't present all this to you without having some kind of suggestion.
High schools across the U.S. are notorious for their generic textbooks, one that cements the idea of American exceptionalism throughout history to the current day. College institutions, on the other hand, are much freer. They're recognized for their liberal environments that foster true learning and critical thinking. In fact, my first year in college is when I was introduced to many of the insane things happening around the world perpetrated by my own country, which helped propel me into becoming an activist. And one of the books that stood out the most in those early years, which helped counter my years of patriotic brainwashing, was Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. Howard Zinn was a revolutionary thinker who understood that history is too often written by the victors, by the powerful, which is why Zinn chose to write an alternative narrative on everything from Columbus's genocide to the slave trade to the dropping of Agent Orange across Vietnam. It's a book written from the people's perspective, one that doesn't shy away from horrible truths. Indeed, it's a text that will challenge people's long-held belief systems.
All right, see, books like this, these are the books that need to be taught in middle schools. Because as the woman said, these things are sugar-coated. The racism, the slavery, the us taking over the country from Native Americans who lived here, they're sugar-coated in our textbooks today. Now, you see, the counter-argument to teaching these books in schools is that they're too graphic and that the kids can't handle things like this. Well, maybe. But they happened. And they need to be addressed in the schools. Maybe not in books as explicit, but they definitely need to be addressed more than 2 pages of slavery happened and it's okay, it's over now. No, these things need to be taught in the schools, and that's my proposed solution. Now, as stated in the beginning of this video, the most consequential form of racism is not public, but rather de facto racism. And that is the problem with our country.